Hi, how are you? Have you ever wondered why some people seem to thrive under pressure, deliberately waiting until the last minute, while others get paralyzed by delay? The answer lies in a fascinating psychological distinction that most people don't even know exists. Welcome to Inquisitive Mind, where today we'll dive deep into the shadowy world of procrastination's dual nature: active versus passive. What you're about to learn will fundamentally change how you view your own procrastination patterns. Think of your mind as a complex machine, capable of turning delay into either a weapon or a wound. Some of us wear procrastination like armor, strategically using time pressure to fuel creativity and performance. Others find themselves trapped by it, like a prisoner in a cell of their own making. The passive procrastinator lives in a state of perpetual dread. Tasks loom over them like dark clouds, growing more ominous with each passing day. They want to start, they know they should start, but something invisible holds them back. Every delayed action adds another link to their chain of anxiety. But then there's the active procrastinator, a different breed entirely. They make a conscious choice to delay, thriving in the pressure cooker of tight deadlines. Their procrastination isn't about avoidance, it's about optimization. They're like surfers, waiting for the perfect wave of pressure to ride to peak performance. The truth is, most of us don't even realize which type we are. We've internalized society's message that all procrastination is harmful, never considering that some forms of delay might actually enhance our performance. Let's start with the passive procrastinator's mind. Imagine standing at the edge of a dark pool. You need to dive in, but the water's temperature is unknown. Every moment spent staring at the surface increases your anxiety. The longer you wait, the colder the water seems to become in your mind. This is how passive procrastinators experience every task. Each delay creates a feedback loop of anxiety and avoidance. The task grows more daunting in their imagination, while their perceived ability to handle it diminishes. It's a self-fulfilling prophecy of paralysis. The neural pathways of a passive procrastinator light up with fear responses. Their amygdala, the brain's threat detection center, treats uncompleted tasks like physical dangers. Each reminder of the pending work triggers a fight-or-flight response, pushing them further into avoidance. But here's where it gets interesting. The active procrastinator's brain tells a completely different story. When they choose to delay, their prefrontal cortex, the planning and decision-making center, remains engaged. They're not avoiding, they're strategizing. Active procrastinators use delay as a tool. They understand their own psychology, recognizing that they perform better under pressure. The approaching deadline doesn't paralyze them. It energizes them. They're like skilled chefs who know exactly when to turn up the heat. Think about the last time you faced a major project. Did you feel a sense of helpless dread with each passing day? Or did you consciously choose to wait, knowing the pressure would sharpen your focus? The biochemistry of these two types couldn't be more different. Passive procrastinators marinate in cortisol, the stress hormone, experiencing constant low-level anxiety. Their sleep suffers, their creativity diminishes, and their productivity plummets. Active procrastinators, however, experience controlled bursts of stress hormones. The deadline pressure triggers the release of norepinephrine and dopamine, nature's focus and reward chemicals. They enter a state of heightened performance, riding the wave of urgency to completion. Let's explore how these patterns develop. Childhood experiences shape our procrastination type. Perfectionistic parents often inadvertently create passive procrastinators. Their high standards and criticism make children fear starting tasks unless they can guarantee perfect execution. Active procrastinators often develop their style through positive experiences with pressure. Early successes under tight deadlines teach them to trust their abilities and harness stress productively. They learn that pressure isn't their enemy. It's their ally. Consider this paradox. The passive procrastinator avoids work to escape anxiety, yet this avoidance creates even more anxiety. It's a downward spiral that feeds on itself. Each day of delay adds another layer of dread, making the task seem more insurmountable. The active procrastinator, meanwhile, maintains a sense of control. They're like a tightrope walker who deliberately chooses not to use a safety net, not out of recklessness, but because they know the pressure will enhance their focus and precision. But here's the dark truth many don't realize. Your type of procrastination isn't fixed. It's a pattern that can be rewired, reshaped, and transformed. The passive procrastinator can learn to harness pressure instead of being crushed by it. The first step in this transformation is recognition. Are you delaying tasks because you're scared or because you're strategic? Do deadlines fill you with paralyzing dread or energizing anticipation? Let's examine the warning signs of passive procrastination. Constant anxiety about uncompleted tasks. Avoiding thinking about the work. Making excuses to yourself and others. Feeling powerless to start. Experiencing shame and self-criticism. Watching deadlines approach with increasing dread. Now contrast this with active procrastination indicators. Conscious decision to delay. Maintained sense of control. Clear understanding of deadlines. Confidence in ability to complete work under pressure. History of successful last-minute completion. Using pressure as a performance enhancer. Your work environment can either reinforce or reshape your procrastination type. Open offices often intensify passive procrastination, as the constant visibility of others' productivity heightens anxiety. Active procrastinators, however, can thrive in such environments, using social pressure as another tool in their arsenal. Technology plays a crucial role too. Passive procrastinators often use technology as an escape, drowning their anxiety in endless scrolling and meaningless tasks. Active procrastinators use technology strategically, setting precise deadlines and creating artificial pressure to enhance performance. The cost of remaining a passive procrastinator is immense. Beyond the obvious productivity losses, it erodes your self-trust. Each delayed task becomes evidence that you can't rely on yourself, creating a self-fulfilling prophecy of failure. Think about how passive procrastination affects relationships. The constant guilt of unfinished tasks seeps into every interaction. You start avoiding people associated with delayed projects. Your personal life suffers as work anxiety bleeds into evening hours and weekends. Active procrastinators, by contrast, maintain clear boundaries. When they choose to delay work, they fully engage in other activities without guilt. Their procrastination is compartmentalized, controlled, strategic. The biochemical difference is striking. Passive procrastinators live in a constant state of low-grade stress. Cortisol levels remain elevated, disrupting sleep patterns and weakening immune function. The body stays in a perpetual fight-or-flight state. Active procrastinators experience stress differently. Their cortisol spikes are intentional and temporary. Like athletes who perform better in competition than practice, they use deadline pressure to enter an optimal state of focused performance. But here's the most crucial insight. The shift from passive to active procrastination begins with a single decision. The moment you recognize your power to choose when to work, rather than being paralyzed by fear of working, everything changes. The transformation process requires understanding your personal pressure threshold. Everyone has an optimal level of stress for peak performance. Too little pressure leads to boredom and delay. Too much creates paralysis. Active procrastinators know their sweet spot. Consider the role of deadlines. Passive procrastinators see them as threats looming on the horizon. Active procrastinators view them as tools for focusing energy and attention. Same deadline, completely different psychological impact. Time management takes on new meaning through this lens. Traditional advice about starting early and breaking tasks into small pieces works for some. But active procrastinators might perform better by intentionally compressing work into focused bursts. The key is self-awareness. Your procrastination style isn't a character flaw. It's a pattern of behavior that evolved for specific reasons. Understanding these reasons is the first step toward choosing whether to maintain or modify this pattern. Consider how your work quality differs under different conditions. Passive procrastinators often produce lower quality work as deadlines approach, their anxiety interfering with cognitive function. Their fear of imperfection ironically leads to rushed, imperfect results. Active procrastinators often produce their best work under pressure. The deadline creates a state of flow, that optimal condition where challenge and skill align perfectly. They enter a zone of heightened creativity and focus. The myth of the right mood particularly affects passive procrastinators. They wait to feel motivated, inspired, or calm enough to begin. But these perfect conditions rarely arrive, and the waiting only increases their anxiety. Active procrastinators understand that mood follows action. They don't wait for the right feeling. They use deadline pressure to generate the necessary emotional state for work. Let's explore the social dimension. Passive procrastinators often hide their delays, creating elaborate excuses and avoiding accountability. This secrecy adds another layer of stress to their already overwhelmed minds. Active procrastinators tend to be more open about their work style. They understand and communicate their process to others, setting realistic expectations and maintaining trust even when working close to deadlines. But here's the real secret that transformational psychologists have discovered. Procrastination type often correlates with deeper personality patterns. Passive procrastinators frequently struggle with perfectionism, fear of failure, and imposter syndrome. Their delay is a symptom of these deeper issues. Active procrastinators usually have higher self-efficacy, belief in their ability to accomplish tasks. Their delay isn't about doubt, it's about optimization. They trust themselves to perform under pressure. The workplace increasingly demands adaptation. Modern jobs require juggling multiple projects with shifting priorities. Passive procrastinators struggle in this environment, their anxiety multiplying with each new task. Active procrastinators often excel in dynamic environments. Their ability to strategically delay less urgent tasks while focusing on immediate priorities becomes a valuable skill. This transformation requires understanding the neuroscience of motivation. Each successful completion under pressure reinforces positive neural pathways. Your brain learns that pressure can enhance rather than inhibit performance. The procrastination spectrum isn't binary. It's a fluid continuum. You might be an active procrastinator in some areas of life and passive in others. The key is identifying these patterns and understanding why they exist. Your physical environment plays a crucial role in this dynamic. Passive procrastinators often try to hide from their work, creating physical and mental distance from tasks. Their workspace becomes a source of anxiety rather than productivity. Active procrastinators design their environment to support their work style. They create systems that allow for strategic delay while maintaining awareness and control of deadlines. The digital age has introduced new complexities to this pattern. Notifications, emails, and constant connectivity can amplify passive procrastination, providing endless opportunities for avoidance. But here's where it gets interesting. The same technology that enables procrastination can be reprogrammed to support active delay strategies. Time tracking apps, deadline management tools, and focus software become allies rather than enemies. Let's talk about energy management. Passive procrastinators often exhaust themselves with worry, leaving little energy for actual work. The anxiety of delay becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy of reduced productivity. Active procrastinators conserve energy for peak performance periods. They understand their personal energy rhythms and align their work schedule accordingly, using deadline pressure as a catalyst for focused effort. The impact on career trajectory is significant. Passive procrastinators often find themselves stuck in roles that reinforce their anxiety patterns. Their fear of taking on challenging projects limits their growth opportunities. Active procrastinators, with their strategic approach to pressure, often advance more rapidly. Their ability to deliver quality work under tight deadlines becomes a valuable professional asset. The myth of multitasking particularly affects procrastination patterns. Passive procrastinators often attempt to juggle multiple delayed tasks simultaneously, fragmenting their attention and increasing anxiety. Active procrastinators understand the power of focused dedication. When they finally engage with a task, they give it their complete attention, entering a state of deep work that produces superior results. The role of accountability changes dramatically between these types. Passive procrastinators often avoid accountability partners, fearing judgment and criticism. This isolation reinforces their negative patterns. Active procrastinators leverage accountability strategically. They choose when to share deadlines and commitments, using social pressure as another tool in their performance arsenal. Sleep patterns tell an interesting story. Passive procrastinators often experience disrupted sleep, their minds racing with thoughts of unfinished tasks. This creates a vicious cycle. Poor sleep leads to reduced cognitive function, making tasks seem even more daunting. Active procrastinators maintain healthier sleep patterns despite working under pressure. They've learned to compartmentalize work stress, allowing for proper rest and recovery between intense work periods. The impact on decision-making is profound. Passive procrastinators often make choices based on avoiding discomfort, leading to a pattern of missed opportunities and regret. Active procrastinators make decisions based on optimizing performance. They choose when to delay and when to act, maintaining control over their workflow rather than being controlled by it. Your relationship with time itself transforms. Passive procrastinators experience time as a threat, constantly racing against it. Every tick of the clock increases their anxiety. Active procrastinators view time as a tool, something to be shaped and used to their advantage. They understand how to use time pressure to enhance their performance. The concept of self-trust emerges as a critical factor. Passive procrastinators have lost faith in their ability to perform, creating a self-fulfilling prophecy of delayed action and subpar results. Active procrastinators maintain and build self-trust through repeated successful execution under pressure. Each deadline met reinforces their confidence in their ability to perform when it matters most. What's particularly fascinating is how these patterns affect creativity. Passive procrastinators often stifle their creative impulses, their anxiety blocking the free flow of ideas. They become trapped in a cycle of perfectionism and fear. Active procrastinators frequently report enhanced creativity under pressure. The deadline creates a form of productive constraint, forcing innovative solutions and creative breakthroughs. Your professional identity becomes shaped by your procrastination style. Passive procrastinators often develop a reputation for being unreliable, even when their work quality is high. The constant last-minute scramble affects how colleagues and supervisors perceive them. Active procrastinators, however, often gain a reputation for being clutch performers, people who can be counted on when the pressure is highest. Their consistent delivery, even if last-minute, builds professional trust. The emotional cost varies dramatically between types. Passive procrastinators carry a constant burden of shame and anxiety. Every delayed task becomes another weight in their backpack of stress. Active procrastinators maintain emotional equilibrium. They understand that delay isn't inherently negative. It's a tool that can be wielded effectively when understood and controlled. The path to transformation begins with acceptance. Acknowledging your current procrastination pattern without judgment opens the door to change. Some passive procrastinators will choose to develop more active patterns. Others might decide to move away from procrastination entirely. Remember, the goal isn't to eliminate delay. It's to make delay work for you rather than against you. Let's explore the physical manifestations of these patterns. Your body keeps score of your procrastination type. Passive procrastinators often experience physical symptoms: tension headaches, digestive issues, muscle tightness, their body literally carrying the weight of delayed decisions. Active procrastinators experience different physical responses. The pressure they embrace creates focused energy, similar to athletes before a competition. Their bodies learn to channel stress productively. The relationship with failure differs dramatically. Passive procrastinators often use delay as a shield against potential failure. If they never fully commit to a task, they can always blame time pressure for any shortcomings. Active procrastinators view failure differently. They understand that occasional misses are part of pushing performance boundaries. Their relationship with failure becomes more experimental, less personal. Your workspace reveals your type. Passive procrastinators' spaces often reflect their mental state, cluttered with half-started projects, each representing a decision delayed. Their environment becomes both a cause and effect of their procrastination. Active procrastinators maintain organized chaos. Their space might look messy to others, but they know exactly where everything is and what needs to happen when. It's a controlled environment designed for burst productivity. The transformation from passive to active requires rewiring deeply ingrained habits. It starts with small victories. Choose one task, just one, and experiment with active delay. Set a deliberate start time closer to the deadline, but maintain awareness and control throughout the waiting period. Pay attention to your energy management. Passive procrastination drains you constantly. Active procrastination conserves energy for peak performance windows. Start tracking when you work best under pressure. Most importantly, understand that changing your procrastination type doesn't mean eliminating delay entirely. It means transforming delay from your enemy into your ally. Inquisitive minds, you've journeyed with us through the complex psychology of procrastination types. The question now isn't whether you procrastinate. It's whether you're ready to transform how you procrastinate. The path forward is clear: awareness, acceptance, and strategic action. Your procrastination pattern isn't your destiny. It's a tool waiting to be refined. Think about tomorrow differently. Each task becomes an opportunity to practice active delay rather than passive avoidance. Each deadline becomes a potential ally rather than an enemy. Remember, the most successful people aren't those who never procrastinate. They're the ones who've learned to make procrastination work for them rather than against them. This is about more than productivity. It's about reclaiming control over your relationship with time and pressure. It's about transforming anxiety into advantage. If this deep dive into the psychology of procrastination has illuminated something within you, become part of our community of deep thinkers. Subscribe to Inquisitive Mind, activate notifications, and join us in exploring the hidden dimensions of human potential. Next time you find yourself delaying a task, ask yourself, am I avoiding out of fear or delaying for peak performance? The answer could change everything. This is Inquisitive Mind, where we don't just think differently, we think deeper. Until next time, remember, your relationship with procrastination is yours to define.